everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're looking at the heartwarming live-action Winnie the Pooh movie, Christopher Robin.
This nostalgic movie shows a now grown-up Christopher Robin who's lost his sense of imagination over the years. When Winnie the Pooh's friends are missing, he journeys to London to get Christopher Robinson's help to find them in the Hundred Acre Woods. Okay, Mama had a slip-up.
Okay.
When Pooh's friends are missing, he journeys to London to get Christopher Robin's help to find them in the Hundred Acre Woods. I don't know who Christopher Robin is. Maybe that's a different version.
Christopher
Robinson. Who is that?
Wait a minute. Maybe it's like Swiss Family Robinson. Maybe it's from that story. It's a whole different universe.
Okay. So, this movie was fantastic. And the only reason I agreed to watch it was because Rascal said that Bennett Dudley said it was really great, and she's seen a lot of great reviews by people. And it's not that I don't love Winnie the Pooh. I absolutely do. It wasn't what I thought it was. The way the commercial made it seem was like the writer of the book was finding out that the bear was real, and he couldn't believe that the bear was real, and that was uninteresting. But the movie, actually what it was fantastic and wonderful, and it took me back to my childhood, and it made me feel just full of joy and wonder and happiness like when I was a kid. And there hasn't been a movie that's done that in
a very long
time.
And especially considering this is a live action movie, because usually when Disney or any other studio does live action versions of animation, most of the time they're not done right, or they're hated by longtime fans because they just miss the point of the whole thing. But in here they did a great job of making it very, very nostalgic for people who grew up with Winnie the Pooh.
And that's many generations. Many generations have grown up with him.
Right. And I know what you're talking about when you mentioned that was going to be another movie. There is another movie called Goodbye Christopher Robin, but it told the origin of how the creator came up with the story itself, and it was based off his son and his toys, and he used that like his own little world where he played with them. So that's where the story came from. There was a whole origin movie showing the real life Arthur, but this was not the movie. That's a whole different one with almost the same title.
Okay, so yes, then I got it confused. But I'm so glad that I agreed to watch this. I could watch this over again. The only thing I would do is fast forward to where Winnie the Pooh finds him. And it's not that I didn't like that part of the movie. It's just I want to get to the fun.
Right.
I want to get to the fun. But it was beautifully written, beautifully done. Ewan McGregor does a fantastic job of making you believe that these two different people in the movie. Because he's literally one person in the beginning, and then he's himself again in the end. You know, the kid that grew up with Winnie the Pooh.
Right.
And he changes his relationship with his family. And, of course, feel-good endings are always fantastic in this type of movie.
Right. And we also have to mention for the voice cast for the movie, they did bring back Jim Cummings as Winnie the Pooh in Tigger 2. So they had one original actor. I'm not sure about the other ones, because it's been a very long time since I seen Winnie the Pooh. Back when I had a gift, it was on VHS for a few of the episodes. So I am not entirely sure if everybody was in here minus
If not,
Peter
they
Cullen.
sounded like it. They really sounded exactly like the voice actors who did the home movies.
Right.
Well, the direct-to-video movies. It really sounded like them. I mean, he was fantastic as Winnie the Pooh. Absolutely fantastic.
Right. I think Brad Garrett did Eeyore this time instead of Peter Cullen. Toby Jones, we know from working on regular show, was... Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's a different Toby Jones. He's an English actor who was Al. They had Nick Mohammed as Piglet. And Peter Capaldi as Rabbit. Sophie Okonodo as Kanga. And then Sarah Sheen and Rue. So they had a lot of British actors or comedians doing the voices, and then Jim Cummings was the only one from the original that returned to do the voices.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I can't say enough great things about this movie, and again, having a movie that makes you feel the way this movie does, and it takes you perfectly through the emotional spectrum. In the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, this guy's like a wet rag. wow, he's a douche to his wife. He's a douche to his kid. Oh, wow. How is this the same little boy we saw in the beginning of the movie? He was so happy and full of life. Okay, let's hang on and see what happens. And then you see his job and how pressured and stressed he is. And his boss, who actually played the brother of Sherlock Holmes in the Benedict Cumberbatch version. And you're like, okay, what else is going to go wrong for this guy?
Right.
But it didn't go wrong. It went right. And it turned into this beautiful journey. And the rest of the movie was absolutely just joyful. There's no other way to describe it.
Right. And it made sense when it started. We were kind of like an off-put. Because, you know, the Disney tropes go when they have the sad stuff, want to make you feel sad.
Yeah, she had... Yeah. The little girl got her mom and her dad to stay through the entire movie. He didn't get killed. His wife didn't get killed. Everybody lived throughout the entire movie. Oh, my goodness.
Well, it was a miracle for Disney.
Yes.
And you were seeing, you know, you slowly saw how he was starting to lose his innocence. After he said goodbye, he had to leave Hundred Acre Woods because going to boarding school. Boarding school. Yeah. And so why can't you stay? And they went a little party for him. And you saw at first he was still the same, but then he went to boarding school, and then he got a job.
So he could learn how to be a fish in the sea.
Right.
More a fish in the sea.
Right. And you saw as it went on, and then, you know, he had to deal with work, and then, you know, his family, then he was in one of the wars and stuff and serving, and you saw what happened and what caused him to lose all his innocence. He was struck with so much reality and somewhat hardships that he was no longer that fun little kid with the imagination. And then as you see, like, how much further he's gonna get before he loses his family.
Right.
And then that's when Winnie the Pooh comes in.
The cares of the world closing in. And it's a great message that this movie gives, not allowing all these things that happen in the world to change you as a person, to take away your joy. I mean, that was just a really great message, because that's what happened to him along the way, beginning with boarding school. It happened. And you really have to make it a priority not to let the cares of the world affect you in that way. I think that was a great message.
And the designs they have, I mentioned with what animation they have with the CGI, rather than make them look too lifelike. They only did that with two characters, the rabbit and Owl, I guess because they looked more animal-like in the books and the animated series. Right. Everyone else kind of looked like a plushie, like a worn-out plushie, because you could see they were really bright and colorful and stuff when it began the movie, but it had been 30 years.
30.
Yeah. 30 years later, and they were kind of a little bit worn out. They were still the same characters, but you could tell they had aged a little bit because he hadn't visited them in so long, and that whole forest was getting affected by it.
Yeah, and another great message was that when he got there, he really affected it even more. But when he fell in the water and hit his head and he woke up, he was in this whole different mind frame, and because his attitude and his feelings were different, it had brightened up and it was bright and sunny and happy again. And that's another message. You affect your reality around you. You absolutely are responsible for how your world appears around you. You are the center of your universe. And you have to make sure that you keep your universe full of life and joy, regardless of all the things that come with being human and living a life. This is just an awesome movie. It was just fantastic.
They didn't have to have... Of course, I'm sorry. It didn't have to have action, suspense, and and all these grand.
Well, it had it. It had suspense. It had minor action. It had all these little things all wrapped up into one.
It wasn't trying to be hardcore, no, or trying to make it gritty or depressing or anything.
And no unnecessary appearances of a robot that transforms for no reason.
Right.
All the that are being used in the movie.
Right. And I think one of your favorite parts, or one of my favorite parts too, is because you saw that when he didn't visit for 30 years, Pooh was staying by the door where he usually comes in. He waited every day for him, no matter what, for 30 years. And then finally, the door opened for him so he could go find him.
And he walked out.
Right.
He walked out in assurance that he was going to find him. There was no doubt in his mind that he was going to walk out.
I guess this means I'm finally going somewhere. And he found him. He said, "Oh, it's Christopher Robin. I found you."
And he said, "How do you know it's me?" He says, It was the sweetest moment. You have the same eyes, you're the same here and the same here. You have a few wrinkles, but you're still the same. Right. And again, that was another wonderful message. Biologically, it's been proven that the only thing that doesn't change in the human body are the eyes. You have the same eyes from the time you're born to the time you leave. And I thought it was wonderful. They pointed out, you're still the same person. I can tell by looking at your eyes it is you. All this outside stuff is different, but here is the same. Oh, I was just, right. I love this movie.
And you saw the little parts where he took him to his house and he gave him honey and stuff. He was kind of messing stuff up.
That's a Madeline.
Yeah, that's immaculate. And then when she threw the ball to see if something, ow! And it said, well, what do we do? Throw it back! And they threw the ball back at her. Like, pretend you're not here, and they threw the ball back at her. Are you supposed to do that? And when Pooh was in London, he's like, oh, what's that? And what's that? He was absent-minded still, because they didn't have any source of machinery or technology or anything for the time period they were in, so everything was new to him. He's like, oh, what's that? What's that? Why is that man in a cage? It was the ticket booth. He said, why is he in a cage? Oh, there's a balloon. Can I get a balloon?
And that was another wonderful message. He wanted a red balloon, and he says, oh, the balloon makes me so happy. Does it make you happy? And Christopher Robin said no. But he was saying such simple things can bring you joy every day. I mean, we love the great, expansive things that happen, the wonderful events, birthdays, celebrations, all that are wonderful. But just every day, finding that one thing that brings you joy. And for Winnie the Pooh, a balloon that day, today, the red balloon is what brought him joy. Oh, I love this movie.
What day is it? It's always today.
Yes.
And then it said, yesterday of tomorrow was too much today for me. And when they got to the rest of the characters, and eventually, once again, they got to go to London again, and they got to see all this stuff, and they were kind of like confused on everything that was like, what? They didn't know what cars were, and mirrors, and trains and stuff, and they were just fascinated by everything.
He said, tomorrow's yesterday had too much day for me.
Yeah. And just everything, like, from beginning to end, it's just a really, really, really fun and great movie. It was really innocent. There was never some underlying dark part of it, or them throwing in a really sad moment. The only thing that they threw in, but it wasn't to where it was like Disney forcing some emotion, was when they were looking for his friends, they couldn't find him, and there was fog everywhere, and he was getting irritated the fact Pooh didn't know where North was, because he forgot he's a silly bear. And when he said he's not a kid anymore, he's grown up, and he said, I guess you don't need me anymore, and then he vanished. So that was like only the darkest part of the movie, because pretty much everything that he had and knew from the time he was a kid was gone until he hit his head, and like I said, everything changed, and he found Eeyore and the other ones.
And it was great seeing Haley Atwell, who played
Peggy Carter.
Yes, in the series. So it was great seeing her again. She was doing the same period type movie, but she was doing a different type of character, which she did very well. Cast was fantastic. The environment was wonderful. It was wonderful seeing them depict a World War II Great Britain. I love this movie. I love it, and I can't wait till we watch it again and fast forward to when Pooh finds him again.
Yes, because it's just a really, really sweet movie, and a lot of people, I think the movie pretty much everyone will like, unless you're just not into Winnie the Pooh. That's the only exception. But it's such a really, really fun movie, especially for the ones who grew up with Winnie the Pooh, and
which
wonder,
again are
for everybody,
millions and millions of people, because Winnie the Pooh has been around such a long time.
Right.
You have generations and generations and decades of people who grew up with Winnie the Pooh. There's just such an enormous amount of merchandising and products available all this time, from toys to clothing to plushies to toothbrushes and everyday things and Winnie the Pooh honey. There's just so much out there. If you don't know about Winnie the Pooh, you've probably been living under a rock, or you were born before the 20th century, because Winnie the Pooh's been around so long.
And they also, lastly, what I mentioned, they also do many shout outs to the books. They only had a narrator at the beginning because really the story had to be told on its own, and every event that happened at the beginning was told through the book. And they had all the shout outs to what a tigger is, and Pooh getting stuck. Watch the Christopher Robin got stuck in the tree this time. He said, oh, so this is how it feels. And Pooh waking up doing his little morning routine to eat, and the little party, and Eeyore being depressed all the time, and the Heffalumps and Woozles he had to fight to prove he was Christopher Robin. They never saw it, but they only heard it. They said, oh, it sounds like a real fight. Oh, I can't watch, I can't see it either.
And it brought back so many wonderful memories Rascal and I have had together watching the Heffalump movie. And
the Piglet movie and the Tigger movie.
And reading the books, because she did used to have a lot of the books, the I Can Read books. They were called Golden Books.
Yeah.
All the Golden Books, and they had quite a few Winnie the Pooh. So it brought back so many memories. It brought back memories for me of the Winnie the Pooh stuffed animals and things. You also had a giant Winnie the Pooh stuffed bear. You had Winnie the Pooh building blocks. Oh my gosh, you had a lot of Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
And so did I. So it was just fantastic. This is a perfect movie for returning you to your childhood. No matter what your age, I don't care if you are 100. Watching this movie will make you feel like a kid again. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't seen it, rush and see it. If you have seen it, let us know what you think in the comments below, and what wonderful memories did it bring back for you of your Winnie the Pooh childhood moments.
Yes, we love to hear your comments and stuff, because it's a really, really great movie, and it's heartwarming with the silly bear.
And if you've seen any other movies that are similar to this that you'd love to recommend to us, let us know what they are in the comments below, and we'll be happy to check them out, because again, I love this movie.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the form of a locket.